Premier League is the toughest, most competitive, physical and hardest league in the world. You'll often hear this from players, the media, and even the supporters. And while I'm not disputing this fact, there is someone who would look at this statement and just laugh. Someone who ever since arriving all those years ago has been a constant threat to one of the core specialities, the very identity of the league. This man, for his section, has wiped out the word competition and replaced it with domination. And that man is Pep Guardiola. This man has redefined how to win the Premier League to the point where losing a certain number of games, which in many cases would have won you the title in the past, just cannot cut it anymore. He's literally dominating the Premier League to the point where winning the league with 90 points and above, even 100, has now become the norm for them and a necessity for others. You literally have to be near perfect to even keep up with them in the title race, and even then, it's still not enough. Good luck winning the league on goal difference, of course, that's if you can. And if you're Manchester United, you're sat there wondering, how did one team get to this position despite all our planning and the amount of world-class managers that have come and gone from our club? How is this man doing it year after year after year after year? Manchester United have money, Liverpool have, but don't spend as much as United, but are way more successful in recent times. And then you have Manchester City in the middle of all of this. This is the guide to Manchester City's domination of the Premier League. When Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan took over the club in 2008, his team immediately started to carefully plan their moves, and while at the time it appeared as though they were spending large amounts of money, which they were simply experimenting at the time to see what stuck and what didn't. When Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea in 2003, he immediately started to spend big as he brought in 11 players, which in total cost him £121.3 million to pull off, which by the way during that time was a massive amount of money to spend on footballers. You see, that was the era of Florentino Perez's first Galactico era, and that showed that if you want to win anything or become a dominant force both domestically and on the European stage, then you simply have to spend a lot of money. But the Russian billionaire was much more calculated in his approach, as he did not go as wild as Perez in channeling all that money on a single player. He instead decided to spend it on a number of players. The point that I'm trying to make here is that they spent money. They spent big, and for this era, this was what was working. So what was working during the time when Sheikh Mansour took over Manchester City? What or who was dominating football at the time? Yeah, that's right. Pep Guardiola's Barcelona. The beauty, magic and adoration for what Guardiola's Barcelona was doing at the time was what impressed Manchester City. Of course, getting Guardiola at the time was quite impossible, so what did they do? They literally took the 2008 Barcelona boardroom to their club, and among them were CEO Ferran Soriano and Director of Football Chiki Begaristan. Whether it was intentional or not, I just can't shake off the feeling that beyond trying to emulate Barcelona, which many other teams were trying to do, this was an attempt to get Guardiola to come to their club, and if so, they surely succeeded. Manchester City always wanted the best, and that's why upon being informed of the availability of Pep Guardiola in 2016, the club became ever so willing to do away with their manager at the time, Manuel Pellegrini, and so their preparation began. You see, unlike many other wealthy clubs such as Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City decided to avoid things such as superstar signing, and for good measure, because now the manager Pep Guardiola is above any other player at the club. Manchester City made sure that despite having all the money in the world, they built their club's entire culture around the manager being the most important and authoritative figure at the club for the players, which is extremely similar to what is happening at Liverpool and the opposite of what is happening at other clubs such as Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester United. With the lack of big ego players and Guardiola being the central figure at the club, the players can only get into the matchday squad through their hard work and not by the merits of being a quote-unquote superstar signing. Heck, the most expensive transfer in history has spent an astonishing amount of time just sitting on the bench this season. Do you think this can happen at any other club that isn't Manchester City? This kind of thing just goes on to create massive competition in the team, and if you're not doing well, no matter the amount of money the club paid for you, you simply won't play, and that just makes every single player over there play with their absolute best so they can keep on getting selected. In other words, there is no room for complacency. John Stones, club record signing at the time, after underperforming, benched. Riyad Mahrez, key component to Leicester City's Premier League title winning campaign, was even the club's record signing before Grealish, and after underperforming, or even while in form, benched. Sergio Aguero, Manchester City's greatest striker of all time, almost sold initially and finally sold. Raheem Sterling, a reliable goal-scoring player for the club, after underperforming, benched. Joao Cancelo, new signing back in 2019, didn't settle in quickly, benched. Joe Hart, sold. Claudio Bravo, sold. Bernardo Silva, I think you get the point by now. Pep ruthlessly drops or sell players for not being at their best, and that is why they are also ruthless to their opponents. At the moment, only Ederson, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Ruben Diaz, and Joao Cancelo are guaranteed a regular starting spot in the team. The rest will just have to earn it, and even with these players, well, you never know. And that is why Manchester City players are not usually in many people's FPL team. The planning is great, manager is great, and now it's time for the performance. Manchester City players are just absolutely dangerous. The competition within the squad leads to hunger from the players, and when the players are trying to outdo one another, then other teams are in trouble. During the 2017-18 season, after Guardiola was allowed to bring in a number of his players, the ones who could actually suit his style of course, he took the league by storm, dismantling every single team that came their way in a season where they accumulated over 100 points and scored over 100 goals en route to the title. They'll continue to put out similar figures, but however, there was one particular team that was constantly on their case. That's right, Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. If it wasn't for Klopp and his Liverpool side, Guardiola would have dominated the Premier League uncontested. But the question is, why Liverpool? While Manchester United were chasing after short-term success under Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger becoming Arsenal's public enemy number one, and Pochettino's Tottenham project still on its way to achieving its full potential, Liverpool were the only other team who paid close attention to the rivalry in the Bundesliga, brought in their man, and actually gave him the time to build his team. The club, just like Manchester City, realized that short-term success was not the answer to long-term dominance, so they brought in two of world football's most innovative and modernized managers to their club, and just like that, they are now two of the best managers in the world. Klopp's Liverpool were emerging from the shadows during the 2017-18 season when Manchester City dominated and proceeded to smash them only once in the league and played a key role in their Champions League exit, and so the 2018-19 season birthed one of the most memorable title races in Premier League history, where 97 points was still not enough for Liverpool to be crowned champions of England. That's crazy. Guardiola came into the league not only to dominate but to change how football was being played after tweaking his tactics a little bit to suit the demands of the league. Guardiola used his possession-based football to torture the life out of his opponents, with the movement and flair from his players contributing to their free-scoring nature. He has even played the past season and this one without a striker, just like Liverpool have been doing for quite a while now, because Firmino, although being labelled as one, is definitely not carrying out the operations of one. This, of course, is one of the most important factors to Manchester City's success. It's one of the reasons why they are ahead of Liverpool, as unlike their red counterparts, Manchester City have used their money to strengthen their squad from top to bottom. It's the reason why they have quality everywhere, including their bench, which is a luxury that Liverpool were sadly not afforded. It's often said that Liverpool's Jurgen Klopp was tasked with identifying gems in the transfer market, which he then buys for little money and turns them into superstars, while Pep just goes out to buy whoever he wants because of the money he's been afforded by the club. Although yes, that's true, but many say it as if he cannot actually turn cheaply signed players into world class just like Klopp, but believe me, if he was in Klopp's position, he would have surely excelled. Guardiola's man management skills is on the same level as Klopp's. The man turned Raheem Sterling from just a pacey winger with dreadful end product to one of the best goal scorers in the league. He turned Joao Cancelo into an absolute world-class fullback within 2 years at the club. He made Leroy Sané one of the hottest young prospects at the time he was at the club. He turned Kevin De Bruyne into a world-class player and one of the greatest midfielders of our generation. And let's not forget what he's currently doing with England's next big thing, Phil Foden. Many will point to Guardiola's lack of Champions League success as an issue because Manchester City only want to win the Champions League, and that is true, but Manchester City also know that winning the Premier League is also important, and since he's already doing that, European success will soon follow. They have continued with him at the club despite the knowledge of the fact that the last two Champions League exits have all been entirely his fault, and that is because they know how difficult it is to find good managers or managers who are on his level. And with PSG as an example, losing a world-class manager or world-class managers is never a good thing because they'll just go somewhere else and win it for them. Guardiola knows that his time at Manchester City will be judged on his European success, but remember, Manchester City is a team that is clearly built for winning the league, as cup competitions are decided by 1 or 2 games and also depends on your opponents at the time, a format which best suits their title rivals Liverpool. Manchester City aren't just great because of money alone, but because of how smart they've been with their money due to proper planning. And as for Guardiola, it's just a question of when he will win the Champions League for Manchester City. And that, of course, could be this season. And that is the end of the video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give us a like, it helps with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out. The point that I'm trying to make here is that they spent money. They spent big, and for this era, this was what was worth. Oh my god.